You should be open to page 50 in your textbook, and you should be open to a new clean page in the social studies section. Make sure that you are in the social studies section. And then the title of today's note is Chapter 2, Lesson 2. And then today's date is October 12th, 2020. And then we're going to start with number 1 when we get there. So for now, just put your pencil down once you're finished. And put your vocabulary notebook underneath your textbook. And you should be on page 50. Yes, when you're ready, you can go ahead and have your finger ready to follow along on page 50. Face shield should be on. Okay. When I see everybody's finger ready to follow along on page 50, starting with the title of the lesson, I will pick somebody to read. Make sure that you are following along. Victoria, go ahead and read first, loud and slow.
United States government.
A little louder.
United States government. You are there. The year is 1787. American leaders are gathering in Philadelphia.
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 There you
Their job is to make a government for the United States. A government is a system of leaders and laws for making decisions for a community, state, or a nation.
go. Pause. Victoria, what's our first word?
Government.
Government. Make sure you spell that word right because there's that hidden N that you don't necessarily hear. So our first word is government. Don't forget that N. And what is government, Victoria?
It is a system of leaders and laws for making decisions for a community, state, or nation.
Good. A system of leaders. Those are the people that are in charge. And laws. Those are those rules that they make that we have to follow. So a system of leaders and laws. So it's both those people and those laws or rules that are written working together to help us in making decisions for a community, state, or nation. And what that means is that we have governments for our cities, for our states, and then for our nation, the whole country. So we have the mayor and everybody that works with him in a city. We have the governor and everybody that works with him or her in a state. And then we have the president and everybody that works for him or her one day, maybe, in a nation. Yes, Victoria?
Has a girl ever been the president?
No. But there are plenty of girls who have been governors and mayors. So Victoria, when you're finished with the vocabulary word, you may continue. And yeah, there have been many female governors and many female mayors, and one day I'm sure there will be a female president. It is allowed, it just hasn't happened yet. But one day it will. I'm confident that one day it will happen. Victoria, whenever you're ready, you may continue. Everybody, put your finger on that second paragraph, and you are there. And make sure you are following along as Victoria reads.
You watch as Benjamin Franklin enters the Pennsylvania State House. That is Benjamin Franklin, your mother whispers. He will help George Washington and the others make a strong fair government.
So Benjamin Franklin and George Washington are some of our founding fathers. What that means is they helped to make the United States into its own country, which means not only did they have to govern, they had to create the government. They had to create those first laws, and they had to pick those first people that were in charge. So they had to create this very first government back when our country was founded. Thank you, Victoria. Read next, loud and slow, Cullen. Everybody, finger ready to follow along. When I see everybody's finger ready to follow along, I will let Cullen know that she can go ahead.
A plan of government. In 1787, the United States was a new country. It needed a strong government to make and carry out laws.
Okay. Go ahead.
The consonants.
Constitution.
The Constitution. George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, and 53 other leaders worked for 4 months.
So was it easy and quick to create this brand new government? No. It took at least 4 months. Keep going.
Finally, they agreed on a constitution or plans of government.
What's our next word, Cullen?
Constitution.
Good. Constitution. I think we all just need a little practice saying that word. So finish writing Constitution, and then we're going to practice saying it out loud. Okay? Repeat after me. Constitution.
Constitution.
Everybody, please. Constitution.
Constitution.
Again, Constitution.
Constitution.
One more time. Constitution.
Constitution.
Sadie, are you saying it or are you just mouthing the words? Because usually I can hear you and I can't right now. Now all together. Constitution. Okay, keep going. Oh, I'm sorry. What is a constitution? Colin?
Plan of government.
So a plan of government. Make sure you're spelling government right. So the Constitution is just a plan. It's the layout. It says we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to have this. This person's job is this person's job is that. Here are the rules. This is what happens if people don't follow them. That is what the Constitution is. It's the plan. It's how they set it up. Okay, Cullen, when you're finished, everybody finger ready to follow along. Cullen, can you tell everybody how this sentence starts? So what's the first 3 words of this sentence so they can find it with their finger? The first 3 words?
The Constitution explains.
So find if you're not sure where we are, Cullen just told us we are on the Constitution explains. When I see everybody's finger ready to follow along, Cullen will keep going.
The Constitution explains how our nation
That's a short O sound. So, dem, ah, cra, and then that's a soft C. C. Dem, ah, cra, C. So, smush it together, smooth it out, and we get what word? Who can help her out? Zadie?
Democracy.
Close. Not democracy. Smith?
democracy.
Democracy. Democracy.
The Constitution explains how our nation
Democracy.
democracy
Democracy.
democracy works. In a democracies, people can elect leaders to govern them.
So, what's our next word?
Democracy.
Democracy. And what is a democracy? It's a government where, so we're going to add a government where, what happens, Colin?
People can elect leaders to govern them.
So a democracy is a government where people can elect leaders to govern them. That means that the type of government that the founding fathers chose for us and agreed on was a democracy, which is where people can elect who they want to govern them and what the laws are. In other places, people didn't have a choice. They had to do whatever the people in charge said. Well, the founding fathers said, well, we're going to have a democracy, so people can choose who they want to make those decisions. They still get to make the decisions, but we get to choose who makes those decisions so that we can choose somebody who we think is going to make the types of decisions that we want. When you're finished with that, put your finger where we are, and Cullen, when everybody's ready, you can continue. Cullen, can you tell everybody the first 4 words of the sentence where we are, if they need help finding it?
This makes the United.
So this makes the united. Find that spot, and when everybody's finger is ready to follow along, Cullen, you can go. Remember, put your finger underneath so that you're not blocking anything and you're not blocking your light, and also it's making sure that you don't skip lines or accidentally read the same line more than once.
This makes the United States a republic, a government that gets its power from the people.
Go ahead and finish out this little section, and then we'll go and do the word, since
And-
there's not much left.
In fact, the Constitution begins.
See the little line under, the little,
This one. We the people.
good. So what's our 4th word, Colin?
Republic.
Republic. Republic. Make sure you have a B, a lowercase b, not a D or a capital B. Republic. And Cullen, what is a republic?
A government that gets its power from the people.
A government that gets its power from the people. because we have a democracy, that means we also are part of a republic. Girls at home, you may not be able to see that last word is just people, from the people. Because we are the ones that choose our leaders. Since we're the ones that choose our leaders, that means they have to listen to us when it comes to making decisions. Because if they don't make the decisions we like, are we going to pick them again? No. So that means we are part of a republic, which means these leaders get their power from us. They can't have power unless we vote to give it to them. So that's what makes us a republic. Okay. Yes, I know. I probably just throw it away. I don't think I need it anymore. I just needed it to erase that because the regular thing won't work. Okay, thank you, Helen. Zadie, please read next. Loud and slow. Everybody, find where we are. What is the title of the section we're about to read, Zadie? Loud and slow so everybody can hear.
The duties of government.
The duties of government. So once everybody's finger is ready to follow along, I will tell Zadie that she can begin. Zadie, go ahead.
The duties of government. The Constitution says that it is the supreme law of the land. In other words, the Constitution contains our nation's highest laws. Everyone must obey those laws, including leaders.
Good. So the Constitution is where our highest, most important laws come from. Every single person living in the United States must follow them. That includes the leaders that we have elected, whether it's of the community, the state, or the nation. They don't get to not follow it just because they're in charge. They have to follow it even more than us sometimes, because are we going to choose somebody to lead us who is not following the Constitution? No. Okay, Zadie, keep going.
The Constitution explains what the United States government should do.
Make sure you're following along with your finger.
It says that the government should treat all Americans fairly and protect their freedom. It gives the government the right to have an army, to declare war, and to make peace. It also allows the government to make paper money and coins. The Constitution explains how the government takes care of issues that affect all Americans.
So we talked a little bit ago about how the Constitution was a plan of government. So not only does it have all the laws we must follow, but it also has everything else that we need in order to run this country. It says what we can and cannot do. It says how these leaders must follow. It says what goes into choosing laws or picking laws. The Constitution is where we turn to anytime we're not sure if how we should run something. We should look to the Constitution. Okay, let's look at this reading check question. What form of government does the United States have? So that means somewhere in what we read, we can find the answer to the question, what form of government does the United States have? What form of government does the United States have? What form of government does the United States have? I see some people not looking. Carla? Oh, hold on. I can't hear you, but it's not Constitution. Constitution is a plan of government. So that tells us what type of government we're going to have or what form. But what form of government does the United States have? It's not Constitution. That's just the plan. That's just what lays out what our government looks like. Kingston. A republic. A government that gets its power from the people. That is the form of government the United States has. Where did you find that, Kingston? Loudly, please. Don't just point to it because everybody can't see what you're pointing to. I can't even see what you're pointing to. So in the section, the Constitution, look at the second to last sentence. It says, this makes the United States a republic, a government that gets its power from the people. There are other types of governments that do not get its power from the people. There are some types of government where whoever's in charge gets to choose everything. They get to do whatever they want to do, and nobody gets to say anything about it. And sometimes nobody even gets a say in who that person is that gets to make all the decisions. So the United States is a republic, which means we get to choose our leaders, which means we give them the power. Okay, go ahead and turn the page. Carla, read next, loud and slow.
The three branches.
Hold on, wait, let me make sure, Carla, wait, let me make sure everybody's following along. Carla just told you what section we're on, the 3 branches, so that means I need to see everybody's finger ready to follow along. Good job. Make sure you can find where we are. Okay, go ahead.
The three branches. Our Constitution also describes how the nation
National,
or
national,
national or
chunk it,
federal
federal,
federal government is organized. It lists 3 branches or parts of the government and tells what each one does.
okay. Carla, go ahead, keep going. That G sounds like a J. Everything else, and that A is a long A. The G sounds like a J, and that A is a long A. Everything else is spelled how it sounds.
The legislative branch.
The legislative. Carla, you can't skip the end of the word. The legislative.
The legislative branch. The legislative branch is made
Legislative.
the legislative branch make the laws.
Okay? So our, let's see, I'm going to erase 1 through 4. And we're going to start with number 5. Carla, what is number 5?
The legislative branch.
You can't skip the word. You can't skip the end of the word, Carla. The legislative.
The legislative branch.
Okay, everybody, we're going to say this word together, or you're going to repeat after me. Make sure that you're looking at the word as you repeat. If you're just repeating the word without studying it, then you're not going to remember when you come to it again, that's the word that we're saying. So make sure you're really looking closely at the word as we say it together. So repeat after me. Legislative.
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 All together. Legislative.
Legislative.
So it's leg-is-late-ive. Leg-is-late-ive. Legislative. We can also think of it as leg-is-late-ive. Legislative. Okay? And what does the legislative branch do, Carla?
It makes the laws.
So the legislative branch is the branch of U.S. government that makes the laws. So the legislative branch is the branch of U.S. government that makes the laws. So the people that are a part of the legislative branch get to be the ones to make the laws. So Carla, when you're finished, go ahead and keep reading. Everybody finger ready to follow along. The main body is where we are. Yes, Kingston? You should have gone you did not go during recess, so that's a consequence. Go, but you're going to miss out, and you didn't go during recess, so that's a consequence. Oh, the definition. I thought you asked me to use the restroom. The legislative branch is the branch of U.S. government that makes the laws. Okay, Carla, when you're finished, we're going to keep reading. We're at the main body. So everybody should have their finger ready to follow along at the main body.
The main body in the legislative branch is Congress. Congress. It is made up of two parts. The
Senate, there's no
the
L.
Senate and the House of Reputation.
Representatives, there's no U.
Representative or the House.
So we're going to add that to the definition. So put a semicolon. It is made up of Congress. Congress is capitalized. It is a proper noun. It is a specific piece of the government, which is made up of the Senate, also a proper noun, and the House of Representatives. Make sure you are capitalizing the first letter of these words. We don't need to capitalize of because it's not an important word. So the legislative branch is the branch of U.S. government that makes the laws, and it's made up of Congress, which itself is made up of the Senate and the House of Representatives. If you've been listening to the news while your parents watch it or something, you've probably been hearing a lot about Congress and the Senate and the House of Representatives. That is a rhetorical question. If your answer is no, well then you probably need to pay a little more attention. Because this is important. Just because you're in 4th grade doesn't mean you don't need to know about all this stuff. Okay, thank you, Carla. When you're ready, go ahead and read next. Ethan. Do you know where we are? Okay. Loud and slow, but wait till everybody has their finger ready. We're at voters in each state. Hold on. I will tell you when to go. You need to be loud and slow, otherwise I have to pick somebody else, which means you would get a consequence. Okay, once I see everybody's finger ready, I will let Ethan know that he can go ahead and read. We're at voters in each state. Make sure you're paying attention. I've seen a lot of fingers in the wrong spots. Until I say it, I shouldn't have to say it. Carla, it's not where we are. It's there. It starts a paragraph. Okay, I have to pick somebody else. You've got to be following along. Maybe next time I'll put your stick back in. Make sure you're following along so I can pick you. Zari. When everybody's finger is ready to go, go ahead, loud and slow.
Voters in each
Wait, sorry, try that sentence again. You kind of cut out a little. So try that, voters in each state. You just cut out a little.
I can't hear you.
Okay. So start voters in each state again.
Voters in each state elect 2 senators to represent them in the Senate. The number of representatives each state has in the House depends on its population. States with large populations have the most
Representatives. You muted a little too soon. So states with large populations have the most representatives. So every state has 2 senators that are part of the Senate. Every single state. No matter how big or small the state is, every state has 2 senators that are part of the Senate. So how many people are in the Senate? If every state has 2 people, how many senators are there? How many people make up the Senate? If every single state has 2 senators, Smith?
It depends on the population.
Look at what it says. Listen to what I said. If every single state has 2 senators, no matter how big or small they are, that are part of the Senate, how many total people are part of the Senate? Zadie? 100. Because there are how many states? 50. Each state has 2, so 50 plus 50 is 100. So there are 100 people that are part of the Senate. So Smith, the House of Representatives is the one that depends. Because it says the number of representatives each state has in the House depends on the population. Smaller states have less, larger states have more. There's like 435 people in the House of Representatives. So that means some states have a really large amount of representatives. But every state only has 2 senators. Okay. Zari, go ahead and keep reading, loud and slow. Everybody, finger ready. Zari, can you tell them where we are?
The
executive branch. So everybody
the
find
executive branch.
So everybody find the executive branch. When I see your finger ready to follow along, every single person find the executive branch. When I see your finger ready to follow along, I will let Zari know that she can go ahead. Zari, go ahead.
The executive branch carries out the laws that Congress makes.
So, Zari, what's our next word?
Executive branch.
Executive branch. So let's all say that word together, or repeat after me. Look at the word while you're repeating and saying it. I'll give everybody a chance to write the word executive branch because you need to be looking at the word while you say it. Nobody needs to be writing definitions yet. All you should be writing is executive branch. Now look at the word and repeat after me. Nobody should be writing definitions yet. Executive.
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 All together. Executive. So we have executive. All together. Executive. Okay, Zari, and what does the executive branch do?
Carries out the laws that Congress makes.
So, The executive branch is the branch of U.S. government that carries out the laws Congress makes. So what that means is that Congress comes up with those laws, they write them, they decide, hey, this is what the law will say. They decide, does it go with the Constitution? Once they have said, yes, this is a good law, it fits with the Constitution, it's written well, then they give it to the executive branch, who then makes sure that we know this law and that we know how to follow it. So the legislative branch creates the laws, they write them, they make sure they're good laws. The executive branch says, hey everybody, this is our new law. You must follow it. This is how you can follow it. Zari, tell us the first 5 words of where we are now.
The leader of the executive branch.
Okay, that's the first 6, but okay. So we're at the leader of the executive branch. So once you're done writing, find where we are, put your finger there. I will let Zari know when everybody has done that. Zari, go ahead and read.
The leader of the executive branch is the President of the United States. Voters elect a president every 4 years.
Good. So, we'll add this to the definition. The executive branch includes the president. So the president's main job is to make sure that we know these laws and that we know how to follow them. Thank you, Zari. Let's see, I will be reading next. So we've got the legislative branch who writes the laws. They make sure that they fit with the Constitution. They make sure they're good laws. And then they give them to the executive branch to say, yep, we will keep this law, and then tell us, hey guys, here are the laws. Here's how to follow them. We are at upon taking office. When I see everybody's finger ready to follow along at upon taking office, I will start reading. Upon taking office, the President promises to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. This oath is a reminder that the Constitution is the highest law of our country. Even the President must obey what the Constitution says. I'm sure you're following along with your finger. The President has one of the most important and difficult jobs in the world. The President deals with other countries. The President is also the leader of the United States military. So the President is not only in charge of making sure that we know the laws and how to follow them, but he must also follow those laws, or she, one day. He or she must also follow those laws, and he or she also has to work with other countries and is the leader of the military. So they have the final say in what happens with the military. Okay, let's look at this picture, this diagram down at the bottom. This is an example of another primary source. Remember, primary sources are things that come directly from a person who was there. Things like the presidential seal, which we see here, are a primary source because that is something that we still have today. This is the actual presidential seal. It does not change. A secondary source would be if you drew a picture of the presidential seal, because you, as a amateur artist, would you be able to draw it exactly how it appears here? No. But this is done by an artist or a computer that knows exactly what goes where and how. So this is a primary source. So let's look at this symbol, this presidential seal. That means anytime the president has anything to do with anything, we will see this seal. Let's look at where it says background. This important symbol of our federal government is stamped on all official documents that the president signs. So anytime the president signs something, it will be stamped with this seal on the bottom of page 52. So make sure you're looking at it, please. Then we see all these little symbols on it. We see around it, it says seal of the President of the United States. That tells us, hey, this is the president's seal, not the governor's or a mayor's or anybody else's. Then we see that the 50 stars around the edge, around the border, stand for the 50 states. In the middle, we have a bald eagle. The bald eagle is our national bird. It holds an olive branch on one side, which is a symbol of peace. That green thing in its, let's see, if we're looking at it, would be its right foot. That is an olive branch. The olive branch represents peace. If we look at the other foot, it's holding arrows to show that the nation will defend itself. That means if you try to attack us, we are going to defend ourselves. That's what the arrows mean. Then we see our nation's motto, E pluribus unum, which we know means out of many one, because we are many different cultures and types of people who came together to create one country. So that is the seal of the President of the United States, and it has not changed, and it will not change, most likely, for a very long time. Okay, let's go to the next column. Aaron, you are going to read that word. Do you know what that word is? Who knows what that J word is? How to say that J word? Aaron, do you know? Or do you want some help? Not judical. Zadie?
Judical?
Close. So close. But that C doesn't sound like C. It sounds like sh. So close. Judicial. Let's say it together before we start reading. So look at that word. Do not take your eyes off that word. And repeat after me. Judicial.
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 All together. Judicial.
Judicial.
Okay, Aaron, go ahead and read. Everybody at home, make sure to mute yourselves. Go ahead, Aaron. Louder, so we can all hear you.
The judicial branch. The judicial branch is made up of the Supreme Court and certain other courts. These courts have the job of making sure that laws agree with the Constitution. They also see that laws are carried out fairly.
Good, so we've got a pretty long definition. That's why I didn't stop you. What is, so I'm going to erase number 5 and 6. So number 7 is what, Aaron?
The judicial branch.
Judicial. Say it again.
The judicial branch.
Judicial branch. Look, do you notice how C-I-A-L is just like at the end of special? Do you notice that? So that means if you see C-I-A-L in another word, what can you assume it probably sounds like? Colin?
Special.
Shul. So judicial. 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 Judicial branch. And Aaron, this is the branch of U.S. government that does what? Not what it's made of, so we're going in a different order. What does it do?
These courts have the job of making sure that laws agree with the Constitution.
So it's the branch of the U.S. government that makes sure laws agree with the Constitution, and what else do they do? What else did they do, Aaron? So their first part of their job is to make sure laws agree with the Constitution, and what else do they do?
They also see that laws are carried out fairly.
And that laws are carried out fairly. So what that means is after the legislative branch writes the laws, the judicial branch has to make sure that it goes with the Constitution. So one of the things that the Constitution says is that women are allowed to vote. So what the judicial branch has to do is say that the legislative branch comes up with a law that says women can only vote if they are mothers. Well, the judicial branch will say, no, that can't happen because the Constitution says that all women can vote. It doesn't say just some women, it says all women. They also have to make sure that the laws are carried out fairly. So that means they have to make sure that the punishments are fair. So when the executive branch chooses the or says what the punishments are for not following the laws, the judicial branch has to say, hey, you can't say they have to go to jail for 400 years just because they crossed the street not at a crosswalk. They have to make sure that the punishments are also fair. So, hey, you jaywalk, which means you're not crossing at a crosswalk, well, you get a fine. You don't get put in jail because that's not fair, but you can give them a fine for not being safe. Victoria, please sit up. I don't know what you're doing right now, but you need to sit, you need to scoot forward and pay attention. So all three of these branches have to have a job. The legislative branch writes the laws. The executive branch carries out the laws, which means they make sure people know the laws and know how to follow them and know that there are consequences. The judicial branch makes sure the laws agree with the Constitution and make sure that they are fair. Okay, Aaron, keep going. Loud and slow. Everybody, tell us the first three words.
The Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court. So everybody find the Supreme Court and get ready to follow along with your finger.
The Supreme Court.
A little louder.
The Supreme Court is the nation's highest court. Its nine judges called justices are chosen by the president and approved by Congress. Once appointed justices may serve for life.
That means may serve for life. That means they can serve until they die or they can retire earlier. This is actually current events because a couple weeks ago we just had one of those 9 justices die. Did you hear about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, or RBG, in the news? She was one of the 9 justices. She was one of only, I think, 3 women and she did just die. So that means this is a really important current event because right now the president is having to choose a new one. And it's a big thing because some people are saying, well, you know, there's an election, so you should wait until the outcome of the election to choose somebody. If you get chosen, if you get voted in, then you can choose the justice. But if you don't get voted in, the person who does get voted in should choose the justice. And so that's what's going on right now. So there's a lot of, I think they're actually yesterday or maybe today, the hearing started for this new justice to be picked. And so that means Congress is going, so the president has chosen who he wants, and now there's hearings where Congress is going to decide, yes, we do want this person, or no, we want to get somebody else. Okay, so, I forgot to add judicial branch. Who is it made up of? Aaron? Kingston, why is that way over there? Aaron, who is the judicial branch made up of?
It is made up of the Supreme Court and certain other courts.
Good. Made of the Supreme Court. That's not it, but we're just going to include that because that's the main body of the judicial branch, is the Supreme Court. So you know how we have court here, down at the courthouse? Maybe one of your parents had to go one time for a ticket, parking, speeding, whatever. Well, the Supreme Court is the court for the whole country. They only see certain things because there's only 9 of them. So they have a very big job. Okay. Very good. Thank you, Aaron. Go ahead and read next. Ethan. Once you're finished writing, find where we are. Yes, Colin.
Who is our governor?
Who's our governor? Oh my gosh, who is it? Billy. Yes,
Who's the vice president?
Mike Pence. I almost said Trey Pence because that was a friend I had in high school, and that would have been funny. But no, Mike Pence is our vice president. Ethan, are you ready to read? Pause on that because I'm going to leave it up. And go ahead and start reading. Loud and slow. Pull your mask down so we can hear you. Everybody find where we are. And Ethan, when you're ready, read loud. Do you know where we are? Okay, I'll put you back in. You'll have to try again. Michaela, loud and slow. If we can't hear you, I have to pick somebody else, which means consequence.
Checks and balances. The writers of the Constitution wanted to make sure that one branch of the government did not become too powerful. To do this, they created a system of checks and balances. It protects,
Not protect.
it provides ways for each branch to limit or check the power of the other branches.
So, our next word is what, Michaela? Or term?
Checks and balances.
Checks and balances. And checks and balances allow what to happen?
It provides ways for each branch to limit or check
Limit or check what?
the power
Of what?
of other branches.
So it provides ways for each branch to limit the power of other branches. And the reason we need that is if one branch gets too powerful, say the legislative branch gets too powerful, well, their job is to make laws, to write the laws. So if the legislative branch becomes too powerful, they could write whatever law they wanted. And if they have all the power, that means the judicial and the executive branch can't say anything about it. Which means they could write really bad laws that nobody would want to follow or that would cause a lot of people to get in trouble. If the judicial branch got too powerful, well, they could start making those laws, those punishments not fair, and nobody would be able to say anything about it. If the executive branch got too powerful, well, the president can do whatever he wants, and then we no longer have a democracy, then we have a dictatorship, which means one person gets to say whatever goes for everybody else. And that's what can happen if the executive branch gets too powerful. But because of these checks and balances, each branch can make sure, hey, you already got this check, you got this, what you wanted, so now we have to balance it by we get to do this. So it's ways that things stay fair and the power stays even, so that nobody gets too powerful and starts doing things that they shouldn't do. Because think about every book or movie you've ever read or seen. When somebody gets way too much power, bad things happen because they let it go to their heads and they start doing like the warden in Holes. Nobody was coming to check on her way out at that Camp Green Lake, so she got to do whatever she wanted, which was to make these kids dig a hole every single day trying to look for this treasure that she wanted. So that's why we need checks and balances. Let's look at this diagram up at the top of page 53. What does this diagram show? Aaron? Branches of the federal government. We have 3. Michaela, tell us the first one.
Legislative branch.
And what does it do?
Writes laws that are used by the entire nation.
Good. So the legislative branch, remember it's made up of Congress. They write the laws that the entire nation has to follow. Next we have what branch, Michaela?
The
Executive.
executive
And what does it do?
informs,
Not informs.
enforces,
Enforces.
or carries out
National.
national laws.
So they're the one that enforce them. They make sure we know what they are and how to follow them. And they make sure that we are following them. Then what's the last branch, Michaela? Judicial. We've said these words.
Judicial branch.
And what does it do?
Make sure that laws follow the Constitution.
So they make sure that those laws that the legislative branch wrote are good ones that follow the Constitution. Then the executive branch will make sure we know the laws, make sure we know how to follow them, and make sure that we are following them. Okay, so it's time to pack up. You do need to finish this tonight before you start your homework. So you'll have to read pages 54 and 55. You will write that in your planner. Do not try to do your homework without reading these, because there may be a quiz tomorrow on what these 2 pages say. So do not go home and not read pages 54 and 55, because hint, hint, there may not be a quiz on the information on pages 54 and 55 tomorrow. So you also will need to add this last vocabulary word into your vocabulary notebook. So